Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into the art of effortless flourishes to elevate your lettering to a whole new level. This tutorial is perfect for anyone looking to add a touch of natural elegance to their lettering, and we'll be using Procreate to create stunning realistic ivy designs that will make your work stand out. You can use any brush you want and add those leaves to absolutely any design you currently have. So grab your iPad, fire up Procreate, and let's transform your lettering into a beautiful leafy masterpiece together. Let's get started. Okay, so in this mini tutorial, I'm going to show you how I created those leaves over there. Just to show you without the leaves, that's what the artwork looks like. You can add leaves to absolutely anything. I just think it really does give that nice decorative feel and just kind of fills the blank. So whenever there's an empty space, we're going to put some leaves and that's going to look quite nice. So this is what the leaves look like. Before we begin, I always recommend doing a little bit of research, trying to gather a little bit of inspiration for your artwork. And you guys know I love Pinterest for that. In Pinterest, what you can do is look for things like leaves, border, ivy, frames, whatever style you want to do. You can look at that online. I kind of like something like that. I think I'm gonna go with something a bit more simple for this tutorial. It's always good to have some reference in the back just to kind of go back to that if needed. When you look at all of those leaves, you can see the stem is always very separate from the leaves. So in order to make it look nicer, I think it's kind of good to have the stem in the center and then the leaves around it. So there's not much overlapping going on except here, for example, but you can see that most of the time you have got the stem and then the leaf coming out. So this is what we're going to try and do, something a little bit more in that style. So this is what I've got, but I'm going to hide everything. So let's just pretend this is my artwork. You can see everything is centered and I want to add leaves that go on both sides. I have an idea in mind. So now all I have to do is prepare my canvas. So I'm going to create a new layer wherever you want to place it. I'm going to place it behind my shapes and just in front of the background color. So I have a colored background, as you can see here, and then I have all of my shapes together. So I'm going to place my new layer in between and I'm going to call that leaves. And then what we need to do before we actually add our leaves is to activate our symmetry. To do that, you just go into Actions, Canvas, and then activate the drawing guide. You're going to edit the drawing guides. And when you open it by default, it should come with the 2D grid, but you're going to switch to symmetry and you should have one line down the middle. That's what we want because I want my artwork to be very symmetrical. I want leaves to go on both sides. But obviously, if you click on that little icon, you can move that guide wherever you want. You could also rotate it on an angle. So if you want to make leaves going like that, that could be nice as well. But I'm just going to go with just a straight symmetry and position it right in the center of my canvas. And I'm just going to click done, and it's hardly visible, but you should have a line going down the middle here. Now, what we want to do is be able to draw only just on one side so that it reflects on the other side and it looks perfectly symmetrical. And in order to do that, you need to make sure that your layer has that assisted tag at the bottom. So you want to make sure it says assisted down the bottom of your layer. If it doesn't, if you create a new layer and it doesn't say assisted, it's just not going to draw the symmetry. So in order to make it assisted, you just tap on your layer and activate the drawing assist and it should say assisted. If you want to get rid of that as well, you just click again and you should get rid of it. So let's just do a test and everything you're going to draw on either side of your canvas is going to replicate on the other side, which is really cool. So now we have the layers, we can move on and start sketching. So I'm going to use the sketching pen brush to start sketching. You can sketch with absolutely any brush you want, depending on the artwork you're doing. But I'm using a free brush that was part of my fileteado tutorial. So if you guys want to use those brushes as well, make sure to check out this other video, this other tutorial, and you can grab those free brushes. So I'm going to begin with the sketching pen. I'm just using like a brown color, something similar to what I already have for my artwork. Then I'm just going to begin drawing my stems. As I was saying earlier, you can see that all of the reference, they all have the stem, which is very separate from the leaves. So I always recommend when you draw your flourishes like that, I always recommend beginning with the stem first and kind of positioning it in a way that's in a nice and balanced way. So you don't want to have things that are just too close to each other or kind of overlapping too much. You kind of make them kind of nice and organic and flowy and really use those flourishes to filling the space. So that's what we're trying to do here. So I'm just drawing the stem and kind of trying to make it look like the artwork is combined with the stem and the artwork is like right in the center. And I think it's, for this style, it's quite nice to have things going outside of your canvas. Makes it look more organic and natural. I think I'm gonna lower that down a little bit. Okay, so you can see I've tried to keep everything balanced and just filling in the space. Try to leave a good gap in between all of the branches. There are overlapping branches, like here for example, but I didn't do too much overlapping, so that should be okay. But be careful with overlapping stems because it can make it look a little bit messy. All right, now we can position the leaves. So the way I'm going to position the leaves, again, I'm going to try to make it very balanced. I'm going to place the leaves so that it's going to fill in the blank space. I'm going to try not to have leaves overlapping each other. And the other thing I'm going to try and do is have leaves that are different sizes, because I think if they're all exactly the same, it doesn't look as real. So I'm going to attempt at drawing leaves that are different sizes, position them in just the right spot so that they're evenly spaced. I'm also going to try and make the leaves different shapes, so I'll demonstrate what I have in mind. But whenever I draw my leaves, I always like to start by the end of my stems and just make the pointy bit a little bit more pointy, and then just making a big loop to try and create like a leaf effect. And you can see here, whatever you do, whatever curve you make, it's going to create a different style of leaf. So feel free to experiment, feel free to play with different shapes. Go back to Pinterest if needed to find inspiration on what type of leaf you can make. I think I'm gonna go with kind of like a wave like that. So I'm creating curve one way and then the other way, and creates this nice little wavy shape. And you can see it's drawing it on the other side as well, which is exactly what I want. Here it's just really a lot of trial and error as well. Like I spend a lot of time drawing leaves and then erasing them because I'm like, oh no, it's just too similar, too different, too perfect, too imperfect. And it's just a matter of playing with different sizes, different shapes until you're happy with the result. I like to begin with bigger leaves first. I'm filling the space with bigger leaves, and then if there's little gaps, that's when I will add a smaller leaf. That's what I'm trying to do in my head. Obviously, like sometimes you just draw a small leaf, but you get what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to fill in the space with bigger leaves and then adding smaller leaves wherever is needed. You can also see how I'm like trying to draw this leaf on top of the stem. I think sometimes it's okay to have things going in front, but I wouldn't overdo it because then that's when it makes it look messy. But sometimes it just can help to make it look more organic and flowy. It's totally fine as well to draw on either side. Like sometimes I like to draw on the right hand side, sometimes I like to draw on the left hand side. Just depends on what leaf you're doing, I suppose. I think I want to try and introduce maybe a different shape of leaf as well, something a bit more curvy and almost like if the leaf was seen on an angle, and I'll show you how I like to do that. It's very simple. You just draw an arc, and then you're going to draw a second arc that's going to go further away, but then that's going to connect with the end beat of your first arc. So something like this. And then if you draw a third one, you can see that you have your leaf here. So this is one side of the leaf and the second side. So I'll do that again so you guys can see, but I have only just drawn 3 arcs. So the first one, and then the second one going further, but then connecting to the first one. And then the third one is going to do the same thing, but a bit further away and then connecting. So the only important part is to connect the 3 leaves together, and then you have this very nice leaf seen from the side. It's quite cool to have leaves that are a little bit different, just add a bit more dynamism to your artwork. So let's do another one here. Cute. So I'm trying to add a few smaller leaves now, just to fill in the blanks. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this sketch so far. When you're happy with your sketch, that's when you can start refining your shape. I'm going to use my Flawless inking brush. Feel free to use any brush that you enjoy using to do your inking. I love this brush because it's very flowy and it has a pointy end. So feel free to grab that one as well. Now I'm just going to lower the opacity of that sketch. Maybe I'll just rename it Leaf Sketch, and then create another layer on top, which I'm going to rename Leaves. And you guys remember, we need to activate the drawing assist in order to make sure it draws on both sides. And I'm just gonna grab like a darker brown. And again, I'm going to begin with the stem. This brush is very nice because it goes from thick to thin. So if you put more pressure, it's gonna make it thicker, which is perfect for this type of flourishes. It also has a lot of streamline, which makes it very smooth. It's awesome. Just makes it super easy to draw a perfect curve. And you can see I'm starting with the stem first, and then I'll add the leaves. Okay, let's move on to the leaves now. Same thing, just drawing the outside and then filling the shape. This is a really satisfying brush. I hope you guys grab it and play with it, because it's definitely one of my favorite brush. Just so smooth. Let's do the side leaf. Love it. Great, now we can hide the sketch and we should have all of our leaves ready to add shadows and highlights. So depending on your artwork, you might need more or less shadow and highlights. With my specific artwork, it looks like the light is coming from behind, so I'm gonna do minimal highlights. I'm just gonna be creating a new clipping mask on top of my layer. So you just create a new layer, tap on it and make it a clipping mask. Here you can just add some color to your leaf pretty much. So you can decide to add a bit of a highlight. You can use any brush you want. I might use the oil paint brush from my Fiducia toolkit. And here guys, you can just add a few highlights like that. Again, making sure you have your drawing assist activated. So you only need to draw once, and I'm just going to draw the second half of the leaf just to make it like a very small highlight on the leaf. It's really up to you how detailed you want to make it. You can also leave it dark. It really doesn't matter. I'm not going to add any shadow actually because it's already quite dark. So I don't think it needs more shadow. And when you draw this leaf, you can maybe just draw the highlight just on the inside like that, or just on the outside like that. Totally up to you. I think I like that. It's kind of nice. It really is whatever you want to highlight. This brush is very nice because you can blend it. So that's the oil paint brush from my vintage lettering toolkit. There's plenty more brushes in this style in the toolkit as well. So like stone, different type of paint and stuff like that. So they're very good to add color, and then you can smudge it, so you can blend it however you want, which creates this very cool painterly effect. All right. Last thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of a glow because my light is coming from behind. So I'm going to show you how I did mine. So I just duplicate that leaf layer, then grab the one at the bottom, and then I'm going to change its color to something very bright, like I have here for my glow. So now the layer at the bottom with your leaves should be like a bright color, and just add a bit of Gaussian blur. You can see what it's doing. It's just creating that nice glow behind the leaf, but I want to keep it very subtle. So I'm just going to add like 3% and change the blending mode of that layer to add. That should look quite nice. Just makes the artwork look like there's light coming from behind the leaves, which is very nice. And there you have it. This is how I created the leaves, positioned everything so it's balanced, made them symmetrical, added some color, added a bit of a glow. This is the end result. Of course, I've also added some flowers, which is something I cover in my filetteado tutorial. So make sure you check that out. You can also join my lettering lounge where I have plenty of tutorial where I share a lot of tips and tricks on how I do this type of artwork. Now, if you want to learn the exact way I design this type of artwork, like a retro sign, I would recommend checking out my retro sign masterclass 2.0, where I really go over how to create the shapes, how to color them, how to add shadows, highlights, how to make your lettering pop with some very cool 3D effects. Yeah, make sure to check that out. And I really hope you enjoyed this mini tutorial. It's very short, but I thought it was quite interesting to see how I added those leaves, because I think they really add to your artwork and make it look super delicate and intricate, when in reality it's super simple. As you can see, we've only just drawn half of it and it created that. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and find it inspiring. And if you loved creating with me today, make sure to join my lettering lounge where you can find all of my free tutorials and resources. Thanks for watching until the end, and I'll see you guys in my next video.